You know that feeling? The one that hits you the moment you close the front door behind you. You lean against it, the lock clicks, and in the sudden silence of your own space, your whole body just zags. The smile you've been wearing for the last 3 hours melts off your face. The bright, engaged posture you've been holding collapses. It's an exhaustion so deep it feels like it's in your bones. You just spent an entire evening with friends or family or at a work event being the perfect version of yourself. The funny one, the successful one, the one who has it all figured out. And now, alone in the hallway, you feel like an empty costume. The energy it took to animate that puppet, to keep it smiling and nodding and saying all the right things, has left you completely drained. That's the invisible work we're talking about. The relentless, moment-to-moment effort of upholding an image. It's like you're walking through life holding a giant heavy mirror in front of your face. You spend all your strength making sure the angle is just right, so that everyone who looks at you sees a perfect, flawless reflection. A person who is calm, capable, and always in control. You polish it constantly, wiping away any smudge of vulnerability, any fingerprint of doubt. The effort is immense, a constant strain on your arms, your back, your mind. But nobody sees the struggle. They don't see the tired person trembling behind the glass. All they see is the beautiful, curated reflection. And they admire it. They say, "Wow, you have it so together." And with every compliment, the mirror feels a little heavier. Because you know the truth. You know that one wrong move, one moment of weakness, and the whole thing could slip and shatter into 1,000 pieces. Look, the way everything is set up, the architecture of it all, it responds to what is true, not what is performed. We've been taught the opposite. We've been taught to build a better image, a more impressive resume, a more attractive profile. We think that by presenting this perfect version of ourselves, we will attract love, respect, and connection. But we've stumbled into one of the great paradoxes of being human. The very thing we build to connect with others becomes the wall that guarantees we are never truly seen. Think about it. When you interact with someone from behind that mirror, they aren't connecting with you. They're connecting with a reflection. They're falling in love with a carefully crafted image. They're hiring a performance. They're befriending a mask. And so you find yourself in the loneliest position of all, surrounded by people, yet completely and utterly alone. You sit at a table full of laughter, and you feel invisible. You get a promotion, and you feel like a fraud. You're in a relationship, sharing a bed with someone, and a part of you is screaming because they have no idea who is lying next to them. This isn't a flaw in you. It's a flaw in the strategy. It's based on a misunderstanding of how reality works. Everything is a network. Everything is in communication with everything else all the time. Not through words, but through something more fundamental. Call it a signal, a resonance, a truth. When you are genuinely, authentically yourself, messy, uncertain, contradictory, and all, you send out a clear, strong, coherent signal into this network. It's like ringing a bell with a pure tone. That clear signal is what allows genuine connections to find you. It attracts people and situations that resonate with who you actually are, not who you're pretending to be. But when you spend all your life force maintaining an image, the signal you send out is weak, distorted, and full of noise. It's like a radio station broadcasting static. You're pouring all this energy into the performance, but the performance itself is a kind of lie. And the universe, the way things are set up, doesn't really know what to do with a lie. It can't connect to it in a meaningful way. So what does it send you back? More superficiality. It sends you connections that are also based on performance. It sends you people who are also holding up their own heavy mirrors, admiring your reflection while you admire theirs. Two polished surfaces preventing any real contact. It brings you opportunities that fit the mask, not the soul, forcing you to keep the costume on just to survive in the very life you've accidentally built. That's why it feels so hollow. That's why you can achieve everything you thought you wanted, the job, the partner, the lifestyle, and still lie awake at 3 a.m. with a sense of gnawing emptiness, wondering, is this all there is? The emptiness isn't a sign that you failed. It's a sign from reality itself. It's a quiet, persistent knock on the back of the mirror you're holding. A whisper that says, I can't see you. I can't reach you. Put this thing down. Let me see who is really there. It's not a judgment. It's an invitation back to something real. We see this everywhere. The person whose social media is a perfect gallery of exotic vacations, gourmet meals, and smiling couple photos, but who confesses in a rare moment of honesty that they are crushingly lonely. The family that insists on the image of perfect harmony, where arguments are forbidden and difficult emotions are swept under the rug, only to have it all erupt in a crisis years later. It's the student who is terrified of asking a stupid question in class, and so they never learn. It's the artist who creates what they think will sell, instead of what's burning inside them, and ends up feeling creatively bankrupt. Each of these is a story of holding the mirror, of pouring life force not into living, but into the appearance of living, and the architecture of reality, which is fundamentally based on truth and connection, simply cannot build anything solid on a foundation of performance. It's like trying to build a house on a photograph of the ground instead of the ground itself. Sooner or later, things start to feel unstable. They start to wobble. And that's not a bad thing. That wobble is the beginning of freedom. It's the first sign that the person behind the mirror is getting too tired to hold it perfectly still anymore. It's the first crack in the facade. It is the beginning of the courage to finally let it go, and to see what happens when you let the world see you, truly see you, for the very first time. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. And here's the thing about shattering that image. We imagine it as this huge, violent, dramatic act. A moment of explosive confession, of taking a sledgehammer to the beautiful mirror and watching it fly into 1,000,000 pieces. But that's just another performance, isn't it? Another grand gesture for an imaginary audience. The real transformation, the way it actually happens, is much quieter. It's more subtle. It's less about shattering and more about just letting the cracks show. It's the small, courageous choice in a single moment not to fix a flaw. It's the courage to be imperfect just for a second. It happens when you're in a meeting at work, and instead of pretending you have all the answers, you say, "I'm not sure. I need to think about that." In that moment, a tiny crack appears in the always competent image. It happens when a friend asks how you are, and instead of the automatic, "I'm good, busy but good," you pause, take a breath, and say, Actually, I'm feeling a little lost right now. There goes a crack in the has it all together image. It's admitting you were wrong. It's showing up to a social event when you feel tired and not pretending to be the life of the party. It's letting your kids see you cry. Each one of these is a tiny, terrifying, and liberating act. You're not destroying anything. You're simply stopping the endless, exhausting repair work. You're letting a little bit of the real you peek through. And something remarkable happens when you stop all that work. All the life force you were pouring into holding up that heavy mirror, into polishing it, into managing the reflection, into hiding the cracks. It all comes flooding back to you. We rarely stop to consider just how much energy this performance consumes. It's a full-time job running in the background of your mind every single day, calculating what to say, worrying about what you said yesterday, analyzing how people perceived you. It's a constant low-grade drain on your very essence. When you begin to let the cracks show, you stop feeding that machine. That energy has to go somewhere. So it comes home. It returns to you. Suddenly, you have more bandwidth. You start to notice the world again. You have the energy to be curious, to listen fully to another person instead of just planning your next impressive response. You have the capacity to feel joy in small things again, because you're not preoccupied with managing your own image. This is the mechanics of transformation. It's not about adding something new to yourself, a new skill or a better habit. It's about subtraction. It's about stopping the one activity that consumes almost all of your power. By showing reality who you actually are, bit by bit, you send out that clear, honest signal we talked about. And the entire network of life, the way everything is connected, begins to respond to that signal. To you, the real you. The universe doesn't respond to your potential. It doesn't respond to your curated profile. It responds to your present moment truth. As long as you were broadcasting the noisy static of a performance, you could only ever receive noisy, static-filled experiences in return. You were sending out the signal for perfect and in control, so you attracted people who either needed that from you, or who were intimidated by it, or who were performing the same act themselves. There was no room for genuine, messy, human connection. But when you broadcast a new signal, the signal of, I'm figuring it out, or I'm vulnerable today, or I don't know everything, you create a new kind of space around you. You attract different people. People who aren't looking for a perfect reflection, but for a real person. You attract opportunities that align with your true interests, not just the ones that look good on paper. You begin to have conversations that feel nourishing instead of draining. Coincidences start to happen. You think of someone and they call. You admit you need help with something, and the right person to help you appears the next day. This isn't magic. It's just resonance. It's the architecture of reality working as it's designed to. When you transmit a clear frequency, the things that vibrate on that same frequency are naturally drawn to you. You stop fighting the current of life and start flowing with it. All because you had the courage to admit you're not a perfect statue, but a living, breathing, beautifully flawed human being. And this leads to the most profound discovery of all. The great fear, the reason we hold the mirror so tightly, is that we believe that what's behind it is broken. We think that if people saw the real us, the confused, scared, contradictory parts, they would run. We're afraid that the image is the best thing we have to offer. But what you find when you finally lower that mirror is that what lies beneath is not a better you that needs to be created. It's not even a worse you that needs to be fixed. It is simply and profoundly the actual you. And the most shocking thing is that this actual you is far more solid, more resilient, and more beautiful than any polished image you could ever create. The image was fragile. It could be cracked by a single criticism. The image was exhausting. It required constant maintenance. But your true self, it doesn't require performance. It just is. It can withstand judgment because it isn't trying to be anything. It can handle failure because its worth isn't tied to success. It can connect deeply with others because it has nothing to hide. Shattering the image isn't an act of destruction. It's an act of excavation. You are simply removing the rubble of a lifetime of performance to uncover the solid ground of who you have always been. And that is where your real life begins. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, "I let the mask crack." Write it as your promise. Nobody